Vincent van Gogh was born Vincent William van Gogh on March 30th, 1853 in Groot-Zundert, Netherlands. He was a Dutch post-impressionist painter who is among the most famous and influential figures in the history of Western art. His paintings included landscapes, still lifes, portraits, and also self-portraits, which are characterized by the bold colors and dramatic, impulsive, and expressive brushwork that contributed to the foundations of modern art. As a child, he was serious, quiet, and thoughtful, even when he drew. Van Gogh was born into an upper-middle-class family. As a young man, Van Gogh worked as an art dealer and spent time as a Protestant missionary in the southern Belgium. In his early works, Van Gogh mostly did still lifes and depictions of peasant laborers and contained few signs of the vivid colors which distinguished his later work. His reputation began to grow in the early 20th century as elements of his painting styles came to be incorporated by the Fauves and German Expressionists. Vincent van Gogh completed more than 2,100 works, consisting of 860 oil paintings and more than 1,300 watercolors, drawings, and sketches. Several of his paintings now rank among the most expensive in the world. Irises, which sold for a record of 53.9 million, and his portrait of Dr. Gachet, which sold for 82.5 million. A few of Van Gogh's most well-known artworks include The Starry Night, Sunflower, and self-portraits. Van Gogh was also famous for cutting off his own ear. In December of 1888, Van Gogh was living off of bread, coffee, and absinthe in Arles, France, and he found himself feeling sick and strange. Before long, it became apparent that in addition to suffering from physical illnesses, his psychological health was declining. Around this time, he is known to have sipped on turpentine and eaten paint. His brother Theo was worried, and he offered Paul Gauguin money to watch over Vincent in Arles. Within a month, Van Gogh and Gauguin were arguing constantly, and one night Gauguin walked out. Van Gogh followed him, and when Gauguin returned around, he saw Van Gogh holding a razor in his hand. Hours later, Van Gogh went to the local brothel and paid for a prostitute named Rachel. With blood pouring from his hand, he offered her his ear, asking her to keep this object carefully. Road with Cypress and Stars was the last oil painting that Vincent van Gogh had created, but it was also the least known. This painting was created in Remy de Provence in May of the year 1890 while he was staying in a mental hospital. Van Gogh would stay in mental hospitals because of his breakdowns he had in 1889, but it was Van Gogh's most creative times of his life. He made Road with Cypress and Stars in the hospital as he was surrounded by the gorgeous open fields. Today it is located in a large Van Gogh collection at the Kreuler-Müller Museum located in the Netherlands. The painting Road with Cypress and Stars was painted in May of 1890. In an earlier letter to his brother Theo, Van Gogh wrote that cypresses were always occupying his thoughts, and he found them beautiful of line, and proportioned like an Egyptian obelisk. He had also intended on painting a nighttime view of the trees since his stay in Arles in 1888. Painting Road with Cypress and Stars is an idyllic image of the wayfarers who wandered on the road with a horse-drawn carriage following behind. It indicated Van Gogh's need for companionship and love. The travelers are like pilgrims on a journey in the presence of looming cypress, which divides the pictorial space, emphasizing its vertical thrust. The image of the landscape indicate Van Gogh's continued concern with eternity and life after this world. There are three important symbols shown in the painting, such as the evening star on the left, cypress tree in the middle, and the crescent moon on the right. On one side of the cypress is a radiant evening star with the concentric circles of light. As seen, it barely emerges in the night sky. On the other side of the cypress, the obelisk of death is the newly formed crescent moon, which recalls Van Gogh's prevailing concern with the renewal and rebirth, the consolation of the end of the spiritual journey, a parallel to Bunyan's life in the celestial city as it beckons the pilgrims to their eternal home. This painting, even more than Starry Night, reflects the somber reality that Van Gogh has begun to believe that we were nearing the end of his earthly life and was looking to the hope of eternal release in death. During the year Van Gogh stayed at the asylum, the prolific output of paintings he had begun in Arles continued. The Starry Night was painted mid-June, around June 18th, the date he wrote to his brother, Theo, to say that he had a new study of starry sky. Van Gogh's Starry Night meditates between two worlds of heaven and earth, life and death. The World at Eternity's Gate. The passing of day into night, the imposing image of Cypress as it soars from the earth into the heavens, and the stars which represent Van Gogh's longing for ultimate union with infinite being, evoking thoughts of death and immortality. The thought of painting a starry night preoccupied Van Gogh in Arles during the spring and summer of 1888. He first expressed it in two letters, both written on April 9th. To his brother Theo, he wrote, "I must have a starry night with cypresses." To his friend Emile Bernard, he wrote, "The imagination is certainly a faculty which we must develop, one which alone can lead us to the creation of a more exalting and consoling nature than the single brief glance at reality, which in our sight is ever changing, passing like flash of lightning, can let us perceive. A starry sky, for instance, look that is something I should like to try to do." This excerpt shows that Van Gogh already thought a starry night a suitable subject for a painting that would, through the use of the imagination, be something more than a realistic depiction of nature. Not only would such a painting be exalted beyond reality, but it would be consoling as well. These two concepts, imaginative exaltation and consolation, are, as will be seen, basic to understanding of the Starry Night. Van Gogh suffered from mental health issues for many years, and in April of 1889 he voluntarily admitted himself to the Saint Paul de Mazoul Psychiatric Hospital in Saint Remy, where he spent a year. After leaving the asylum, Van Gogh moved to Avers, a village near Paris, to be closer to his brother Theo. But his mental health continued to deteriorate, and on July 27, 1890, he shot himself in the chest, and he would die 2 days later. His last words to his brother were, "The sadness will last forever." In the end, Van Gogh will always be known as one of the most influential figures in the history of Western art.